Today we're going to do a shop update and talk about sometimes when you take on a job and you plan that it's going to go a certain way, there's unexpected surprises. Let's get started. This car is little, but the problem it's giving us is kind of big. We actually have already solved the problem, but we're going to show you what we went through to get to the solution. It looks actually kind of odd, doesn't it, Mrs. Wizard?
It looks very odd on this big lift.
It's like an Easter egg being carried by a giant crane. It's just very, very small. It looks kind of funny, but it is a cool car, and it's going to be so much cooler once we get done. We're going to show you some of the parts are starting to arrive on it, but this came in, you guys saw the previous video with some black aftermarket wheels, and they were terrible. The tires are about to blow. The treads are literally separating. We did see there's some adapters. We thought they would just be simple to unbolt them and put some new wheels on. It took 3 hours to get the adapters off. Let me show you what we went through. Let me show you the adapters. So here in the shop today, we're at the end of the week and we have finished up a lot of the cars. We still have a few left in the shop. Monday, there are 9 more coming. So luckily we have plenty of room. As you can see with this brake rotor, this is supposed to be a 3-lug wheel. Smart cars have 3 lug bolts. Not 4, not 5, not 6, just 3. But these old wheels, which I'm kind of afraid to put my face in front of them, I'll show you the cracks here in a minute. These are 5-lug wheels. So how do you make that work? You have to use an adapter. Before we show you the adapter, look at these cracks, guys. I could peel the tread off right here if I wanted to. I mean, it's really, really bad. Also, we looked up the date codes on these tires. They're 2008. They're almost 20 years old. So I'm not going to bounce this one on the ground. I'm going to lightly put it down. And being this is a 2009 smart car, very likely when it was brand new, they immediately did these modifications. So here's the little adapters. Normally it would have 5 lugs. They were able to take 2 of them that were originally part of the 3-lug design and kind of bolt those in there, and then they ran a long bolt on the 3rd one to make it all line up, and it converted it to be a 5-lug adapter. But the thing is, look at the thickness there. That spaces out the wheels that much thicker. But these weren't held in with lug nuts or lug bolts. These adapters were held in with Allen bolts, like this one. You can see it's just a normal Allen bolt, and it really normally wouldn't be a problem except for this bolt is made out of steel, and the adapters are aluminum, and these little tiny serrations are on the sides of the Allen bolt corroded so badly with the aluminum inside of here that it was locked up tighter than a drum. I have the Milwaukee 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch impacts, the big boys. I never did do the 1 inch because that's a little bit overkill. You could snap or break something. Even with a 3/4 inch impact on full power, it would not get these out. In fact, on a couple of them, it just rounded out. The Allen, they were seized in there so tight. I was able to heat these really, really hot. And this adapter right here I just showed you did come loose. The rest refused. They would not come out. So I'll show you the second one and how we slowly had to adapt a process to get these things off. Rather than spend a lot of time drilling the bolts out, we drilled the aluminum, which is really soft, that's around the head of the bolt. So that way we could get PB Blaster in to around the serrations on the bolt head and slowly try to knock it loose, and also used heat as well. And it was able to get these out pretty easily, but it just gets worse from here. The next 2 adapters I'm going to show you, we had to really remove a lot of aluminum. Even the base of the head of the bolt was so seized up that it just took a lot of work. Take a look at this, guys. We had to chew out all the aluminum around the bolt to finally get it to break free. Same thing on the last one. It was even worse. They've been in there for almost 20 years, and aluminum and steel do not mix very well when they start corroding. Now, if the adapters were made out of steel and the Allen bolts were installed with some NICs or something, these would have come out so easy. And I actually estimated it that way. I told the customer so many hours to do this job. I figured we'll get the wheels off, zip these adapters off, throw the new wheels on. And it sure didn't turn out that way. This is a lot of the reason why I don't like the aftermarket stuff and adapters and modifications, because what normally should take a certain amount of time in a shop to do something, it can actually cost you double or triple the time because they have to fight to take off your old adapters and things, or modifications, whatever you've done to your vehicle. So keep that in mind when you want to modify your vehicle. So that's basically on the Smart car. We've actually got those all off. We're waiting on some tires to show up. Let me show you the new wheels. They showed up. So here's the stock wheels, kind of give you an idea. This is what's supposed to be on this car, not those hideous black ones that are sticking way out past the fender. These are OEM style. We got some tires ordered, and this will be back in business. So once the tires arrive, we already have the struts, control arms, everything else done. This car is going to ride really nice when it's done. Let's head on to the next car. You guys just saw a video on the R8. We did a lot of updates showing you the expenses and everything. I do have some breaking news with the struts. There's going to be some really cool news coming. You guys want to definitely tune in. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because something really cool is going to happen there. I've got the clutch ordered. It was very expensive, but it is on its way. We just about have every part we need to start throwing this thing back together. Actually, this weekend, Danielson's going to dive in. He's going to start reassembling the engine. So the time has come to stop tearing down and start putting it back together. And right over here, and right here, you probably noticed a car in previous videos. It's a 2014 Jaguar F-Type R with the supercharged engine. We did a video. There's a link in the description if you want to go watch it. I was going to talk about it, and just about 5 minutes ago, the customer showed up and picked it up. It's actually done, and it runs so good now. But once we got the supercharger out of that car to do the valve cover gaskets and a lot of the upgrades the customer wanted with coolant pipes and things, Danielson found out really quickly that somebody had been in there in the past at some previous shop, who knows, 2, 3, 4 years ago, and they did not do very good work. In fact, the dowel pins that are supposed to align the supercharger onto the heads were missing, and in their place were broken pieces of a drill bit to use it to line up the supercharger. Of the 8 bolts that hold the supercharger to the heads, 2 of them, the threads were completely stripped out. Whoever installed it before torqued it so much they stripped the threads, and they just left it that way and said, yeah, it's good enough. We had to rethread it and put new bolts in. We also found some bolts in several locations. They weren't stripped, they were just gone, missing. Also, the bypass valve is an electronic bypass valve, and here's a picture of this little adapter that's supposed to be between the valve and the actual flap for the supercharger bypass. That little tiny piece was gone. Danielson carefully removed the bypass motor and was like, where the hell is the adapter at? It's never been there. That's one of the reasons also it was probably not running as powerful as it should have been. We found also other broken bolts where the heads just broke off. So we remedied all those things that went back together properly, but we found out that somebody's been in there, and that was definitely not part of the original estimate. The customer was happy to pay it. He's like, hey, you know, at least I now know it's fixed right. It cost a little extra, but you definitely can't put it back together that way. So those are some of the pitfalls as running a shop, that you get something apart. And also another reason why it can be really tough to work on 1960s and 70s cars is because there's been so many hands in the cookie jar, is what I call it. What did the last 12 mechanics do that have worked on this old car? And you don't know until you start taking stuff apart and you go, oh, they used Romex wiring on this wire. It should be, why is house wiring inside of a car? You find the weirdest things, guys, I'm telling you. Let's move on to the next car. You guys may have seen this car in the background a few times, the 2012 Bentley Continental GT. We've worked on a lot of these and helped a lot of customers out. Some of these are not worthy of being filmed because the amount of work is so small, there's not much to talk about. It'd be like a 2-minute video. And this is one of those cases. The customer brought it all the way from Texas to have annual service done on it, and it was starting to lean in the suspension, the air suspension. We found that it was just an O-ring was leaking on one of the lines. Wasn't very expensive at all. And at the previous service this car was here, we had already dumped a ton into spark plugs, transmission service, oil services, all the different services are all caught up on this vehicle. So this time around, all it needed was an oil change and a check over. That's it, an O-ring and an oil change. This car is actually leaving tomorrow, so there's really not a whole lot to talk about, but these are the kind of cars that you don't just drive them for 5 or 6 years and never have them checked out, or just let it sit in your garage on a tender. These cars will go south on you really fast if you don't maintain them. And this customer's good about every single year they bring it in. Please check over my car. See if there's anything that it needs, because I want this thing to stay in top shape. The difference is mentality there. I don't want to pay a bill. I want to avoid the bill. It's kind of like some people avoid the doctor. They avoid the dentist because they don't want to deal with it. You can't have that mentality with these cars. You have to have the mentality of, please let me spend money to keep this thing in tip-top shape, because it pays back in dividends someday when you go to sell it. And you're asking a premium price, you can say, here's all the service records. Move on to the next car. So on the Rolls Royce, you guys have seen a video on that as well. We have about 50% of it solved. We have a lot of things done. We're going to be doing a big update video here, not too long in the distance. There's some other things I want to upgrade on it, but it's getting close to that point where I can start cruising and driving this thing. I'm really, really excited about that, but we've taken care of about 50% of it. Now on to the 63 Cadillac. On this one here, you guys saw in a previous video not too long ago that the original 390 engine shelled out on this car. It was still running and it seemed like it ran okay, but it was never perfectly smooth. I finally had Junior Mint pull the engine. We pulled the heads off, pulled it, just took it down to see if, and the cam was wiped out. All the lobes were messed up. The lifters are messed up. There was metal all in the engine. It was bad. So to solve that issue, I have a big surprise coming on that one as well. There'll be a video coming up here in the near future showing what we've done to solve that problem. Next car.
Wizard, why does this Mercedes look like it's slammed to the ground?
That's right, it's slammed to what they call a cigarette pack off the ground. This is the way Hoovie really should have this car. We lowered it down, it's going to stay this way. It's going to really fit in with the lowrider crowd. It looks great.
I don't think so.
No, there's no way in hell. We don't even do that to people's cars. We don't do custom modifications and things. Actually, it just got pushed off the lift because we're about 80% done with this car, and Hoovie said, I know you want to get done with my 6.9, but please can you stop on the 6.9? I really want my Lotus worked on. Okay, so we push it off to the side. All we have left are these oil hoses here that we've showed that on a previous video. Reassemble the cluster, some engine mounts. That's about it. This 6.9 will be leaving. It'll be in tip-top shape. But it does kind of look cool, Mrs. Wizard, lowered to the ground like that.
It definitely is close to the concrete.
So that's where we're at with the 6.9. Well, let's move over to the Fiat. Oh, and by the way, the reason why the 6.9 is setting on its bump stops is because the suspension was deflated and we can't start the engine right now to pump it back up because literally the oil hoses are not connected to it. So it's not hurting anything. It's just sitting there happily waiting for its hoses to be put back on. Now this is Danielson's Fiat 124. Right now he's trying to graft a Lotus Esprit V8 rear lid to see if it'll fit and have a big wang on the back, Mrs. Wizard.
It's definitely looking cool.
No, we're not doing that. We actually have it removed from Hoovie's Lotus Esprit V8. Danielson said, I don't care about my Fiat. If you want to set it on there, go ahead. I said, well, that's up to you, bro. I don't want to scratch your paint. And he just looked at me like, it's literally junk paint on there. Who cares? It's like, okay, well, it's up to you. So it sits here looking pretty, making this Fiat look like it's ready to take off and fly. This is Tyler Hoover's from Hoovie's Garage. Lotus Esprit V8. It's a really sweet ride. You guys have seen it on his videos just recently, and you know that it's going to be needing some major services, lots of work done to it. I'm not going to go too much detail or too much into it to show you anything. You're going to have to go to his channel if you want to see the big reveal of everything that's happening and the whole process of what we're doing. But it is currently in the middle of some big work. Whenever you pull an engine on an exotic car like this, there's a lot of setup and a lot of time. Just because you have everything unhooked and ready to pull doesn't mean it's like Grandpa's old Chevy truck and it says, get a chain on there, let's get her out of there. That's not how you can do it on one of these cars, because if that engine falls and lands on the bodywork, this thing is effed. I mean, it's done, it's totaled. It will be ruined. I'll have to claim it on insurance. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that to Hoovie or any other customer. Danielson is very meticulous and particular about this. He'll probably spend an hour making sure, okay, this isn't going to slip, this isn't going to fall. Make sure everything is just right, because it would be really bad if we cracked that fiberglass body. It is worlds cheaper to pay Danielson an extra hour of labor than it is to claim insurance on a totaled Esprit V8. That would be heart-wrenching. It would be a gut punch. And we're not going down that road. I like to get things done in a timely manner, but I know from experience there are certain times where you got to dial it back and slow down and stop worrying about the clock, because things get broken when you get in a hurry on these cars, or really any car, but especially these. One more car to go, guys. And you guys just saw a video on the Civic Si. This is a 2019. We're waiting the clutch to show up so we can dive in. And me and Mrs. Wizard's about to take another trip to New Mexico like we do every month. And while we're gone, this will be a perfect thing to take up some time in the shop, to give the guys something to do that doesn't require a whole bunch of intervention or anything. They're going to pull the transmission on this, do the clutch. We got valve adjustment to do, and also the intermediate shaft while it's all apart. We typically wait to do any teardown until all the parts arrive, because what can happen is you can get it on the lift, have the transmission out, and then get an email an hour later from the supplier that says, oh, we're so sorry, it's going to be another week before we have you that part. We really apologize for that. And then now we have this car sitting half apart on the lift. You can't move it, you can't roll it. It can really bog down the whole shop really fast if you have several projects going on like that. So when all the parts show up, that's when we start on your car, and not a minute sooner. It is what it is, but that's just how, really, you got to keep the flow going in a shop. So we're just waiting on parts on this one, and it won't take very long. This one will be back on the road as well. So typically, this is what the shop looks like towards the end of the week on a Friday. A lot of cars have come in. We got them all knocked out. They've been picked up and paid for. Now we're waiting for Monday. We got more coming. There's some weeks where we have overflow, where there'll be 3 or 4 cars left behind that go into the next week. Sometimes we have to work a few hours overtime and get things caught up, but looks kind of barren here right now, Mrs. Wizard.
It really does, but I'm glad the calendar's full.
Yeah, actually most of March is already full. We're booking into March now, so. But a lot of these jobs, for some of them, are really big jobs, and we're finishing up on one of the last huge jobs we have right now is that Esprit V8. So definitely wanted to get a video out to you guys to give you an update on what's going on in the shop and some of the cars you guys have been asking about in the background, and give you an idea that sometimes when a shop estimates something, keep in mind the definition. The Webster's Dictionary of estimate is not exact to the penny. It's estimate. It gives you an idea of roughly what it's going to cost to do a car. We actually give you a quick little story. We had a car not too long ago that came in for a certain amount. We estimated a certain amount. And when the job was done, it was over like $10. It wasn't that much. And the customer said, oh, no, 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 no. You told me it was this much. Estimate, guys. It means a rough idea, not to the penny. But anyways, it gives you guys an idea of kind of the flow, weekly flow of a shop. And sometimes you can have hiccups like those adapters on the smart car. That was a huge waste of time. It isn't the customer's fault. It isn't anybody's fault. It's just corrosion of fasteners sometimes can really add a lot of time to a car. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on any of these cars, or we're currently using to work on these cars, or the cars that are yet to come next week, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut if you purchase anything. We really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell before you go, because like I said, next week's full. More videos for you guys. Thanks for watching.